So excited that Most Dangerous Game is back for a second season. Most Dangerous Game New York, and can't wait to talk to this guy, showrunner and writer for the series, Nick Santora. Nick, how you doing, man?
I'm very good, James. How are you?
Doing great. And how thrilled were you actually to get a second season from the Roku Channel for the show?
Listen, any writer's favorite words are second season or pickup or renewed. Those are of all the words we use, those are our favorite words. So yeah, I was super happy and super excited.
I mean, you have a mostly new cast this season as well, but how did you kind of decide which characters would return and who wouldn't, or did the story just kind of dictate that?
Well, the biggest factor is most of our characters get killed. So
Well, then there's that. Yeah.
so they can't come back. But listen, if you have Christoph Waltz wanting to do anything that you're doing, you bring the character back, period, because he's as good as it gets. And then there are other characters, and I don't want to give away too much, but there are characters in season one that really popped and that fans of the show really enjoyed. So you go, listen, if the fans are really enjoying that character, let's bring him or her back and see how it goes. And it always goes well because these actors are so great.
Mm-hmm.
And then just wherever your creative muse kind of takes you, where you said, hey, let's bring this one in, or let's create someone new. And you just kind of go from there.
I actually kind of want to jump to that and talk about Christoph Waltz for a second because he's back as Miles Sellers, the game manager. So, I mean, what's it like to work with him in a role like that? Because it just seemed like he was made to play that character.
I know. Honestly, I was just telling somebody, and this isn't hyperbole. I still have trouble believing I get to work with Christoph Waltz. He's as good as it gets. He's incredibly professional and incredibly nice. He is insanely humble for as talented as he is, for all that he's achieved. Uncomfortably humble, where I'm like, you can tell everyone you've won a bunch of Oscars.
You can puff your chest out a little bit. It's okay. We know.
Christoph, you can go strut. And he doesn't strut. He shows up. He's a pro. He knows his lines. He hits his mark. And then he gives you something that is so much better than what you wrote. He just elevates it every time. And so, yeah, it's surreal. He's up there. I've been doing this 23 years now. I've been doing this a long time. And he's up there with oh, wait a minute, is this really happening group of people that I get to work with? And so it's wonderful. It really is.
I can only imagine. So one of your new characters is your runner. You get Victor Suero this season. So what would you say is it about Victor that kind of makes him so easy to root for?
Well, first of all, David, he's just such a great actor, and he just makes this guy come alive. You can tell when you're working with actors who really care. And he and I had some really nice conversations about the character, where you can tell when actors ask questions and what's really underneath the question is I want more lines, or I want fewer lines because I can't remember all of this.
You just let the secret out, right? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. But with David, it was all the questions were, I want to do the best job I can. And that's all he cared about. And as for Victor, the character, Victor is a character who just is the ultimate underdog. I love underdogs. I just love underdog stories. And his character loves his sister. His character is struggling. He promised he would always take care of his sister, and now he has to do something and agreed to do something quite dangerous to take care of his sister. And so how can you not root for that guy?
No doubt about that. So when you've got somebody like David in a role like that, though, his background in being able to do amazing action sequences and stuff like that, how did that make things easier to kind of put a show like this together when you've got somebody like David that has that skill set?
Well, you don't have to worry about it. There's so many things to worry about when you're running a show, from are we going to make budget? Are we going to get the actors we want? Is it going to rain tomorrow and ruin the scene? I mean, did we lose a location because the owner of the location forgot she double booked it and there's something else going on? There's so much to worry about. And then you have someone like David, who is physical, who is athletic, who is a real worker, who prepares. And you just take that thing that you could have worried about. Can he make the boxing sequences look real? And you put it on a shelf in your don't worry about it pile. And it's just one thing you can take off. And You just take a few things off of that scale and it lifts the weight. It lifts the weight. Just same thing of working with someone like Christoph. You don't have to worry, oh, is this guy going to be able to give a good performance? You take that and you put it on the shelf. So yeah, with David and his physicality and his history of being successful as a physical actor, doing some of the stuff he does in Umbrella Academy and everything, it just lightens your load a little bit.
Sounds like you were able to breathe pretty easy with this cast. So that's good.
Oh,
that's always a good sign.
From top to bottom, this cast, and you've got Oscar winners, you've got Emmy winners, and we've got Anna Gunn. We got to work. There was a series called Wayne on YouTube that not many people saw, but the guy who played Wayne was an actor named Mark McKenna, and I saw it and I went, "Who's this guy? And what do I have to do to get to work with him?" And 3 years later, and I was kind of obsessed with him. And 3 years later, doing Most Dangerous Game 2, premiering this Friday on Roku, please, everybody watch it.
I was just going to get to that.
Streaming for free on Roku. I was able to cast Mark, and I went, oh my God. And there was an actor who played his girlfriend in Wayne, Chiara Bravo, and I got to cast her in this as well, because they both blew me away in Wayne. If anyone can ever take a peek at Wayne, you'll see two actors really kicking butt. And then I got to put them in the Most Dangerous Game, New York, and they kick butt for this show. So I was lucky.
So now you give me something to do a little bit later on today. So now I'll have to go figure that out and go find that show. So getting back to your show, though, we see from the trailer you've got, there's hunters from many different skill sets. So as you're kind of writing these episodes and putting the season together, do you also consider Victor's background and what challenges each hunter is going to present for him when you're going into these scenes? Or do you just kind of go with the flow of the story and see what happens?
No, you think like Victor's character, and I don't want to give too much away, but this isn't a big deal. He's a boxer, and he's had some damage to one of his eyes. He doesn't see so well out of that eye now. So when you're coming up with, one of the fun things of the show is each hunter has their own weapon. And one of the hunters has a weapon called a whip chain. And it's kind of like Indiana Jones's whip, if it's covered in barbed wire and razor blades and little mini axes and stuff like that. So you start thinking about, well, if that's coming at you from the side that you don't see well out of that eye, how do you defend against that? So you do start trying to think of things along those lines. And then sometimes you just go, oh, this is a really cool weapon, because every hunter's allowed to have their own weapon. This is really cool. Let's go with this one and I'll figure out what happens. And then as you write it, you figure out what happens. But yeah, that's the fun part, is trying to figure out how all of the hunters will have their own unique personality that comes from where they are. What type of hunter are they? Are they hunting for themselves? Are they a proxy hunter where they've been hired by somebody to hunt for them? What are their weapons? What is their character? Do they have integrity? Do they follow the rules of the game? Do they try to skirt the rules of the game? We have one hunter who is a stickler for the rules, and I just love that guy.
I love that guy too.
He's the best. The best. That's Chris Webster playing that character, and he's another one of those actors where you just go, they're on another level.
You guys have no idea the gold he just gave you about this season, and without giving away anything either. So I will point that out as well. I want to actually kind of dig into one of the carryover stories you have is we've got Miles and we've got the board, and maybe he's in a little bit of hot water with the board at this point. How much can you kind of tease for us about the relationship with Miles and the board?
Yeah, well, in season 1, Miles is the big bad boss, and we give a hint that there might be an Oz behind the curtain, but not really. And in season 2, we see, he's got bosses, and he's got some serious bosses. And then there's one head boss that really kind of oversees all the other bosses. And, that's a bad mamma jamma, and you got to be careful with that person. And he's feeling the pressure. I like seeing someone who's in charge of everything feel the heat. And that's because I never get to be in charge of everything. and so he feels the heat, and so that was fun to explore, because then you also get to see Christoph play different. He gets to play I'm the boss, and then all of a sudden he's a little bit of a beta in some areas, but Christoph Waltz always rises to the top.
No doubt about that. So we've kind of seen similar stories like this, and they usually take place on like remote islands or other such locations. How does kind of holding something like this hunt in New York City just to enhance the story? Because I think it really does.
Thanks. Look, I'm going to be completely honest, and I'll be completely honest. It's easier for me to write. If someone's in a, if we instead of most dangerous game, New York, it was most dangerous game, Gallup, New Mexico. You would, and nothing against Gallup. I've been there. It's lovely, but it's smaller. It's harder to hide. So when you're in Detroit season 1, when you're in New York season 2, in New York, I even expanded it where it was Manhattan, it was the Bronx, it was Brooklyn, Staten Island, Queens,
Yep.
and Long Island. So we got a real big geographical changes. By the end of season 2, we're in an area that looks nothing like New York City. And that just makes it easier for me, James. To be honest, it's a bit of a cheat because it allows me to expand the storytelling.
Well, what do you guys always say? Write what you know, right? Isn't that the thing?
Yeah, I'm from New York. I know how to get lost in New York.
You know how to get lost way out there too. I can't believe that last episode where you guys went. That's just crazy. You'll know when you, if you know, you know.
I've been out there, and it's the tip of the, well, not the tip of the world, but it's the end of the world for that area geographically, and it's lovely.
No question about that. Really quickly, Nick, before I let you go, obviously we don't want to spoil anything here, but are you hoping for a season 3?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Roku, please. I'm hoping for a season 3. And the way I will be able to get a season 3 is if lots and lots of people watch it on Friday on Roku, and then the numbers will be great. And then hopefully it'll ask me for a season 3, and I'd be happy to write it.
And what's great is it's a quick binge too. If you want to watch it, Most Dangerous Game New York premieres on the Roku channel for free, by the way, on March the 10th. That is a Friday. So it's a great weekend binge for you and see what this guy's got cooking up. Nick Santora, thank you so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it.